The first step is to log into your site and check your scoring readiness for the event. We're going to score New Year's Bash. Go to Scoring Prep, Actions, check scoring readiness. Now this is telling us how we're ready for scoring, and this applies no matter what you're going to use for scoring, because you need to have your schedule done and your judges assigned and all of that. So let's see what's missing here. This says question mark, there are scores present. Since we're testing, we're using the test scores, so that's fine with us. All registered squads and solos have been assigned. Not everyone has a routine, so we're just going to delete the schedule and run the automatic scheduler. Okay, and I'll go back to scoring prep. Readiness. We haven't assigned all the score sheets. So this is dance, dance, dance. That's all of them. Scoring, prep, check readiness, everything's done. We have our judge, our deduction judge is Jenny2. For the associate judges, their password, like before, is the event ID. Now we are going to be using the RegScoring app. And that's not necessary to use unless you're going to be using the video or you want scoring security in the case that the internet goes down. So this is going to be video deduction, so we do want it. It shows you what the current version is. You only have to download the scoring app once, and after that it'll be on your desktop, and when you open it, it will automatically update. So I know it's on this desktop, we don't have to do that again. We're showing that what's enabled is the offline scoring, the video deduction, and the AV critique. We have to have Windows 10, so it's checking that this is a Windows 10 machine. And we also have to have the Vimeo API entered in order to send videos to the coaches, and that's showing as done. So we don't need to do anything else here. We can keep this open if we want to refer to the website for more information as you go along. But to do the video scoring then, so here on our desktop is RegScoring. First we log in as the head judge or your regular admin login with your regular account number. This machine, in this case, is not going to be used by the head judge. It is only going to be used by the deduction judge. And the reason that we have a primary deduction judge is because if you have a deduction and a safety judge, one person's the primary and they have the video, the other person is not, and their scores and markings are sent to the primary to be put on their video. In this case, we're just going to try it with one deduction judge. Okay, we're selecting this event. If we had other events this weekend and I'm logged in as the head judge, I could prepare them all. But we're going to check video only for the deductions. And that, all that does is it blocks scores from being entered on the score sheets for deductions other than through the video, so that you aren't overriding them. Okay, so we're going to fetch that data. And if you fetched the data before, but now you've changed the schedule, or you've changed the judges, or really anything on scoring readiness head checklist, you'll want to refetch it. That won't delete any existing scores or videos, but it'll update everything. And you definitely want to have your most current schedule fetched, because then everything will appear in schedule order. So you do have to do this part, this fetching part, while you're on the internet. So this is maybe something you would do the night before, or even the morning of, as long as you still have the internet. So that's done. This machine is ready to use. So we will log out. Now here we are the next day. It's the morning of the competition, opening it again. Jenny, our deduction judge, is going to log in. She's going to do deductions. Now, the first thing here is to set up your camera, and that's something I forgot. But if you're going to use the Brio camera, which you might as well, it's not very expensive, and it is the most powerful webcam on the market now. You can set it up ahead of time on this machine, I mean, probably the morning of your competition, so that you can see what your stage looks like from the judges table. Set it up with the video capture, the Logitech capture software, which will allow you to change the white balance and zoom and the width. You should use the 60 frames per second. Anyway, experiment with what works. And when you're done experimenting, then close out that Logitech capture software and then open your RegChamp app here. So assuming we've done that, you do want to run a test. And the reason that we're running a test here is, one, to see if you got it set up the way that you want it. I'm just recording off the internet here of a previous recording of a competition, so it's not necessarily the clarity you can achieve with your own camera. And I'm going to run a little test by starting clock. Here goes the timer, stopping clock, and open. So that will replay the video you just made. You can get an idea whether that looks right. And the other reason for doing that is because there's some underlying media player software called VLC, and they will update from time to time, and you'll know when you open this that they've run that they need an update. You run the update, close the app, and reopen the app. You only have to do that once a day. They're only going to send an update at the most once a day, probably only just once a week. So we've verified all that. We know we're running the Brio. We're going to use the USB headset mic that I'm wearing now. Marking delay. That's up to you. What this means is, for instance, if you see a mistake and then you mark it, that mark is going to come after the mistake. So what you could set this as like 2 seconds, and the mark will show up on the video 2 seconds before you hit mark, which is probably going to be right before the mistake happened. In the event that you're doing just video critique, then you would set that as 0, because you don't want to delay. You want to be synced completely with the video. Okay, so continue. So we're ready to score the deductions for this routine. This is in schedule order, or you can search for the routine ID, or the div code here. Let's go do it. All right, I'm going to start the video. And when they get started, start the clock. This is going to show, let me turn that down. Wow. Okay, sorry. The timer. This could be functioning as your timer, because the time of the routine, as it's recorded here between start and stop, will be recorded on the deduction score sheet. So as we're watching the performance, we can mark deductions as we see them. You can just keep watching and not even look down. Just keep your finger on the mark. If you have time, you can go in and add what they were and make maybe a temporary comment. But mostly you're just probably going to want to mark them until the routine is over. We're going to stop this routine. So we're stopping the clock. You have to get a message here about stopping it, because we don't want you to stop it accidentally. You won't be able to restart it. So it's important. Now, if you want, you can save the score sheet now and just move on to the next one. You can, well, you will need to indicate your deduction, actually, what the deduction is. You won't necessarily have to put in the number of points. I think you can come back and just do that later. You can add the comments later. Oops, we don't want that one. That was a dupe. Showing the time where it came in. So I think you can... No, not yet. You won't be able to. When you can come back to this, you'll be able to just jump to the deductions. Now, since we haven't saved it at all, you can't do that. One bug that we have in here now that we'll find another solution for is that if you've already picked major fall, you can't pick major fall again. You'll have to pick this general category of deduction 1 and put in that it was a major fall and write back, or whatever you want to say about it. All right, so we'll save the score sheet. We can come back to it. At this point, it not being sent to the judge, to the head judge, or to the coach. So you can continue to work on it. Now, it'll take less than 60 seconds to process, but in the meantime, if you want, you can move to the next competition and score that. If you want to go back, be sure and use the back button and not the X. That will take you out of the app. When the processing complete, you'll have the choice of replaying it and editing it, in which case you can add more deductions